Welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon from iHeartRadio. Your pop culture news, views, reviews, and celebrity interviews on all the movies, TV, music, and pop culture you crave weekly. Here's Kyle McMahon.
Hello, and welcome to Pop Culture Weekly with Kyle McMahon. I, of course, am Kyle McMahon, and we have an awesome show for you today. We have the legendary, there are no peers with this amazing interview, and she's freaking awesome. Yolanda Adams. Yolanda Adams, she is obviously a gospel singer. She's an actress. She hosts her own nationally syndicated morning gospel show. She is one of the best-selling gospel artists ever. There's a reason she is known as the queen of contemporary gospel music. And then I talked to Zella Day. Zella is an awesome artist who has an upcoming album called Sunday in Heaven. There is a very, very powerful song that she has just released called Radio Silence about her experience with abortion. And the song was due out the day the Roe v. Wade Supreme Court opinion came out, so extremely timely. So I talked to her about that and her career. So first up is my interview with Gimmy Chu, who is the CEO, one of the co-founders of Nanoleaf. And you know I rave about Nanoleaf. I love them. They are, if you don't know, a technology company, I guess you could say. I mean, they do lighting, smart lighting. And I freaking love them. They easily work with Apple HomeKit, which I use exclusively in my home. It makes life easier for me. And they're affordable, and they have high quality, and they're Thread for you nerds out there just like me. They are Thread enabled, so I love that. Makes it much speedier, controlling things in the house. It also, by the way, works with Amazon Alexa and Google Home and all that as well. So it is their 10th anniversary, their 10th birthday, and I'm really, really, really excited about that Nanoversary. One, because it's freaking awesome, and I love seeing a company that I love do so well. But two, they are releasing, and you may have seen it on Wednesday on my social medias, they're releasing a limited edition Nanoleaf Shapes Ultra Black Triangles. So these are the triangle panels that go on your wall, but they're black when they're not on. I freaking love these things. And they are going to go in my home theater. You know, I've been building a home theater in my home, and it had to be put on hold because of the Death, Grief, and Other Shit We Don't Discuss show, which comes out August 30th, by the way. Once that show is done and launched and all the promo and all that good stuff is done, I'll be able to go back to working on the house that I bought. And so these Nanoleaf Shapes, the ultra black triangles, are going to look amazing in my home theater. I'm going to paint the walls black and all that good stuff. You can get them for the Nanoversary over on nanoleaf.me, and I'll have the links in the show notes and all that good stuff as well. I freaking love these guys. And so I talked to Gimmy Chu, and Jimmy is he's such a great guy, such a forward thinker. Really, really love Nanoleaf. And after speaking with Jimmy, love Nanoleaf even more if that was possible. So let's get into my conversation with Nanoleaf CEO Gimmy Chu. All right, so I am here with an incredible guy from an incredible company, Gimmy Chu with Nanoleaf. How are you?
I'm great, Kyle. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Of course, thank you. So, first of all, congratulations. It is the Nanoversary, 10 years, right?
Yeah, it's been an incredible journey. We never thought we'd make it this far, but here we are. Yes.
So how did Nanoleaf start for you? It started, I believe, with a Kickstarter, right?
Yeah. Actually, well, we Nanoleaf was started by me and two of my best friends. We had went to the University of Toronto together, and we were all part of the University of Toronto solar car team. And years after we graduated, we wanted to get together and create some products. And one of the first products to come to market was the world's most energy efficient light bulb at the time. We launched it on Kickstarter, and yeah, that was about 10 years ago, but that was like an incredible 2 months of our lives and our journey. Definitely changed our lives.
Yeah, I would say. And the Kickstarter, the vast majority of Kickstarters fail. Why was Nanoleaf? Why did it succeed with Kickstarter?
I think it's well, running companies is hard, right? So they always say like 9 out of 10 companies fail, and Kickstarter campaigns are very similar to that. There's one part of it where you come up with an idea, you pitch it to the public, and people get really excited about it and back you. But then, are you actually able to follow through on your commitments, right? And so I come from a background of consulting, and I was like, okay, we got to deliver on what we promised. And we're like, okay, we got to stick with the timelines. Like we told them we'd, ship the product in September. We were off by 1 or 2 months, but we still delivered.
Right.
And I think that was the most important thing. And all the features that we told customers that we're going to deliver on, we didn't fall short on any of them. And so, I think it's also timing, right? So at the time that we had launched, this was 2014, so about 8 years ago. And at that time, Kickstarter was just taking off. So there's only so many quality projects out there. And so we were lucky to be part of that. And we rode that wave of Kickstarter, and it did what it was supposed to do, which is kickstart us into becoming a proper business. But yeah, I think it's definitely hard. And I've seen a lot of Kickstarter companies. I'm friends with a lot of them that have, some of them have been successful, some of them have failed, and it's tough.
Yeah, for sure. And you have now you have an amazing line of products, but you started with a great product from the beginning, which I think helps things a lot of times with Kickstarters, at least that I've backed. It feels like a prototype in a lot of ways, and then I'm like, what is this thing that I just bought that I paid for 3 years ago and I'm now getting, and it's like a prototype, you know what I mean? And Nanoleaf did not have that problem, and in fact, people were raving about it. And so, how did you guys grow from there?
Well, our first product did look very prototypey. So our Kickstarter project, it was this dodecahedron light bulb. If you look it up,
it was like black, right?
Yeah, it was like a black light bulb. It was literally a circuit board folded into the shape of something that resembles a light bulb, but it looks more like something from Star Wars. And from there, we continued
So not to interrupt. So that wasn't an intentional design choice.
Well, it was.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
There was a lot of things. It was, even though it looked like a design piece, really it was all based around physics, right? The idea that black as a color absorbs heat better than white, and the idea of having the exposed LEDs were like, look, like each LED chip has a little dome on it. Why do you need to put another diffuser on top to like have more light just reflect inwards? Like you're losing all this efficiency. But I think a lot of people didn't realize that, and they were just like, oh, this thing looks cool.
That's what I thought.
It's exactly right. And I think that that's what really propelled us to become like more of a design company. We realized how important it is to have something that looks cool. Right. And of course, underneath it needs to be some like fancy science and technology and kind of technology breakthroughs. Right. So as like after that product, we really kind of challenged ourselves to push the boundaries of technology even further. Right. And we challenged the notion of, why does light need to come from a light bulb? If you think about a light bulb, it was really modeled after a candle. 100 years ago, people walked around with candles. Eventually they put those candles on the wall, and it became like these little wall sconces. And then when they created the light bulb, they created a little filament that like heats up and kind of glows, right? Sort of like a candle. And they also put it on the wall, and bam, they flipped it upside down. They put it on your ceiling, right? And there you got your light bulb that hasn't changed for like 100 years. And in comes LED technology that lasts for 30 years. It requires a lot of complex electronics, right? You need an AC to DC converter in there. You need circuitry to support your LED chips. And then we were still packing it up into the shape of a light bulb that you screw in and you leave it for 30 years. It made no sense. So we thought, what's the best form of light that we have today? And it's really the sky, right? How do we recreate the sky inside? And that's when we had the concept of these like modular light panels, similar to what you see in the background here. And we thought, okay, well, let's make it change colors, because the sky's not just white light, right? It's like sometimes, there's the sunrise, the sunset, and you have like the northern lights, and that's what makes the sky beautiful, right? And so that was kind of how we branched off into creating this light panel line of products. And I would say that was more of what allowed us to become more mainstream. The light bulbs got us on the map, but the panel product really got us mainstream, and we ended up growing into the company that we're at today. Actually,
yeah, I love the panels, and I love the bulbs. My friends at Nanoleaf were kind enough to send me a unit to review of the panels, and then I went and I became so obsessed with them. I went and bought a house in October, moved in December, and the first thing I did was buy like 16 essentials bulbs and put them like in all the essential places that I would need a traditional light bulb. And now I'm playing around with the various lines, both figuratively and literally, that you guys offer. And it's just, not only is it a light source, but it's a cool design, on one wall where I'm deciding on, this is the hard part for me, is deciding where to put them and how to arrange them. But, in one wall in my living room, I have the lines currently set up in like a kind of, I think, artful way, and so it becomes like a statement piece as well as a light source.
Yeah, I think, the creative process with our products, it starts after you bring the product home. Right. And that challenge, I faced a similar challenge. It's just like, I always spend like weeks just trying out different designs, being like, does this look good? Does this look good? Before I even put it up on the wall. And then once you put it up on the wall, there's so much variation in color and in how the light actually moves across either the panels or the lines, that actually gives it like all these different dimensions to it. And I believe the reason for the reason why people love our products, it's that intersection between art and technology. And it's what, I think I'm lucky to be surrounded by an amazingly talented team that loves to create. So when we get together and we talk about like, what kind of motions do we have, we have designers that actually sit with them to think about, how do we make it feel like a piece of art. Right. And keep in mind, the customers buying this, a lot of them are the gamers, the people that deck out their gamer stations. They're not your typical person going out and buying, your paintings or whatever. But our products end up being sort of like an art piece within their home for these customers that don't typically buy the traditional art pieces. These are the Funko Pop collectors, which and the streamers. A lot of the times they're the streamers, right? The streamers really give us a lot of love. So, shout out to them. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and you guys are doing an awesome job with it. I can't tell you how many people have come in my house and commented immediately on the setup of the Nanoleaf panels that I have, because oftentimes I'll have it set to, and I'm drawing a blank of the name of the feature, but when you speak and it kind of
the rhythm feature.
The rhythm feature. There you go. Thank you. And so they're like, it like kind of catches their eye when it, when they see it already, and then when they start speaking, and then it's, kind of pulsating to their voice, they're like, oh wait, it really is a statement piece, and it's art. I mean, that's really what I do love about it. And then besides all that, the technology inside of it, I'm an Apple guy. My house is all HomeKit, and it works seamlessly with HomeKit in every aspect of it. Why was that important for you? You were very early on, if not the first, the second to attach yourselves with HomeKit or use that as a platform. Why was that important for you?
I think Apple is it's kind of a funny story. So I was always an Apple fanboy as well, and I remember when we were first starting off, like we had received some investment from some investors, and we're really trying to figure out, how do we get into the connected home and smart lighting. And I really like Apple had just announced their plans with HomeKit, and I was like, how do we get a hold of someone from Apple to talk about how to integrate with Apple HomeKit? And I couldn't find a single contact on LinkedIn. The only person's email that I could find was Tim Cook's. It was on Quora. And I was like, you know what? Like, we're a startup, we're a company. Like, I have a legit question for the guy. Let me shoot him an email. If he responds, then great. And actually, like 3 days later, after I sent him an email, he actually responded. And he responded. He connected me with like a senior VP, and then a VP, and it kept bubbling down until there's someone at the level that was able to speak with me. And a couple of weeks later, we met up at CES, and that began our partnership with Apple. And from there, like Apple, they do make it difficult to kind of pass all the different gates in order to be part of, I guess, what people call their walled garden. And a lot of it has to do with security. A lot of it has to do with the user experience on how to onboard these types of products. But after you go through it, everything within that walled garden works really well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for us, it was definitely a worthwhile investment. And also over time, we built such a strong relationship with Apple that they allowed us to go into their stores. And I would actually attribute a lot of our success to our partnership with Apple, because when we got into their stores, they were like, look, when we create a store, no matter where in the world, it looks the same and has the same products on the shelf. So if you want to create a light bulb or a lighting product that works in our stores, you need to support all 200 countries that we're in. And it allowed us to really scale up into an international global business, because and a lot of regions, they were like, look, we only have like 1 or 2 Apple stores in Mexico, but we have the equivalent of Best Buy and all these other stores. You want to get into there as well? And so their distribution network actually allowed us to really expand and grow. So I think we definitely owe a lot of our success to them. It also was like a major kind of milestone for us.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember, like, I was talking to my business partners. It's like, oh man, imagine if one day we were at the Apple store, and then one day we made it in there. It's like planting your flag on the moon.
Absolutely.
So it's really exciting for us.
And you guys have been very forward thinking and forward doing in the technology that you include. For instance, with Thread, from my understanding, and as I keep up with Apple news and HomeKit news and tech news, you guys were in at the beginning with Thread. Which for those of us, this isn't a, I'm nerding out right now, but this is a kind of general pop culture show. And we do cover technology, but not typically this in depth, but I'm going to get, nerdy for a second and in depth, at least as far as I can. For those not listening, or for those that don't know, or actually you can describe, if you don't mind, what Thread is. But you guys were at the forefront of that. And can you explain what Thread is and why that was important for you to jump in early?
Yeah, sure. One of our marketing folks, they called Thread the love child of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth.
That's perfect.
It's kind of perfect. And really it's why it's important to the mass public is because I believe that this is going to be as big as Wi-Fi is. So it's going to be ingrained in every single home. and it's going to be the standard that the majority of smart home will fall into. And there's a couple reasons for it. Like Bluetooth was never designed for smart home. Bluetooth was meant for, your headset that's connected to your phone. Everything's in the same room. They called it like a personal area network. And stuff like Wi-Fi, it wasn't designed to support like 50 devices in your home. Wi-Fi was meant for, you have a computer that needs to stream video. All right, it's very power hungry. Now we have like cell phones, and everything in your home is connected to Wi-Fi, and your Wi-Fi router is being like, WTF, I can't do this. So Thread is the solution to that. And Apple was the pioneers to Thread was actually Google. So Google and Nest, they kind of came up with this protocol. But until Apple jumped on board, and they included in their HomePod Mini, their Apple TVs all include Thread. I think now is the time where Thread is going to become mainstream, and you're going to see more and more products coming out throughout the end of this year. But we were really lucky when Apple decided to launch this. They're very secretive in how they do things. So they didn't tell us exactly how or when they're going to do this, but they're like, you should make your lighting products Thread enabled. And if you do it, we'll launch it at this date together. We're not going to tell you how. And we're not going to give you a version of iOS to test with. Just send us a bunch of bulbs. We'll test it for you. If it works, we're good to go. So it was actually kind of crazy. Like we literally sent them like 1,000 bulbs. But in my head, I was like, look, if I have Apple's army testing my product for me, that actually saves us a lot of time and effort. Right. And on top of that, we launched our light bulb and our light strip globally with Apple retail stores alongside their launch of the HomePod Mini. So for us, that was huge. So there's pros and cons to like working with the quirks of Apple.
Of course.
But yeah, after partnering with them for 5 years, I really respect the way that they think about innovation and product development, and I bought their stock. I was like, yeah, I'm rooting for them.
Yeah, and I've got to say, as a user, I generally, for me, I feel as if Apple has vetted somebody, meaning a company or whatever. I know that I am safe, as safe as humanly possible. You know what I mean? In regards to my the quality of the work, and I'm not going to be hacked or whatever. And again, I'm talking in generalities, but I know Apple has kind of done that work for me ahead of time. And I think that's a big thing. It's something I don't have to worry about if I'm buying a product that is a partnership with Apple or is sold on the Apple Store or whatever. You know what I mean?
It is definitely true. I feel like it's like standing on the shoulder of giants, just working with them, because we were always just so small in terms of scale compared to them. But just working with them has really propelled us as a business. Like we don't have to, like if we're good enough for the Apple Store's shelves, then other retailers that may not have had heard of us, they're like, well, if you're good enough for Apple, you must be good enough. Like they must have vetted you out. You're probably good enough to work with us.
Right.
So that's definitely Apple has been a great help for our business, but that's not to discount the partnerships that we have with Google and Alexa, and those are all important partners for us. But I guess it's been an interesting journey for us.
Where do you see Nanoleaf in 5 and 10 years? What future exploration do you foresee for you guys, or even product wise? And I mean, obviously you can't give away your secrets, but where do you see Nanoleaf going?
So we really have kind of a philosophy where, as humans, we should all be working together to push the boundaries of technology. And so when we invest our R&D dollars, it's really on that. Like, how do we find the boundaries of where technology is today and kind of push it forward? Whether it's, light doesn't have to come from a light bulb, or, the next stage, I believe, is around, what is smart home? What is smart lighting? Today, it's a light bulb that you control with your phone, And the voice assistants have taken it one notch further, because now you could use your voice to control it, but that's still just a glorified remote control. It's not too different from one of those clap on, clap off kind of light bulbs. How do we take smart home to the next level? And it's really around true intelligence. Like, the smart home is not smart right now. It's true automation and intelligence that's really going to take it to that next level. And it's going to require a lot of things like sensors, but at the same time, it needs a stronger foundation. And that's where Thread, and there's this new standard called Matter that's coming out. These are all key pieces of the foundation that will allow companies like us to kind of build that future where every home is going to be actually filled with smart lights. And ideally, it will turn on when you need it and turn off when you don't, without you having to whip out your phone to control it, or try and talk to Google or Siri or whoever.
Well, one place that I have found so far lacking in this space is sensors. And I mean, there are great companies doing sensors. I just haven't found one yet that is instantaneous and is easy to use in regards to automating it. I'm not a programmer at all, so I don't have that brain where it's, when you go to do automations where it's like, if that, then this and all that. It's just not me. And I try, but it ends up turning my neighbor's lights off or something. So do you ever foresee Nanoleaf growing beyond lighting, or will you always focus solely on lighting?
I think the sensors aspect is a fundamental part of lighting control. So this is definitely an area that we're expanding into. I think the way people think about lighting companies, it's going to have to change because if you think about it, like 30 years ago, the people that made lighting was different from the people that made lighting controls, right? So for lighting, you have companies like GE or Philips or, I don't know, Fight, these types of companies that made the light bulbs. And then for lighting controls, you had the Lutrons, the Levitons. And the reason for this is because the manufacturing process is completely different. So these were just mass scale manufacturers that pumped out either light bulbs or light switches. But now when it comes to smart home, you actually want all of that to come from the same company to ensure that it works well together, and you create that integrated experience, right? I don't want to go as far to say like walled garden, because I feel like that's like Apple's term nowadays. But really, it's that integrated experience where everything works really well together. And I believe that is part of the future of lighting. And I think you will be seeing that hopefully within the next 1 or 2 years.
Awesome. I think I would look forward to something like that from you guys, because I know besides, the quality of Nanoleaf and how easy it integrates, most importantly, or just as importantly for me, is the design of it. So I know that you guys are going to bring something that I can put in my home, and it's not going to look like, something weird that doesn't belong there. You know what I mean? So I'm excited.
We'll do our best.
And how about? Oh, I'm sorry. Please go.
No, it's funny you say that, because internally we spend so much time on how a product is designed, and the iterations that we go through, the endless iterations, just to get to that final product. It's just being on my side of the table, you get to see all that, and it's funny, but it's great to hear that you like the designs that come out, and we'll definitely do our best.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's easy for me to say that, hey, make this sensor that has to do all of these things also just totally blend in the background. Now go to it. I'm sure you can get done by the end of the day. It's easy for me to say that. You know what I mean? For the near term, are there any product launches that we can expect for the rest of the year? I mean, obviously you can't say what they are, but are there any surprises coming?
Well, I think the most, I guess the upcoming one is related to our Nanoversary. So our Nanoversary, we're celebrating our 10 year journey. It starts on July 14th, and we're launching a set of black panels. It's a limited edition, and they look super slick. And it's got all the technology that our existing panels have, but it's kind of like a matte black color, and it's really cool just seeing light coming out of something that's actually a dark object. So it's for anyone that's watching, like, oh, I wish I brought one so that I could show you guys. But you guys should be able to see it on our website on July 14th.
Cool. And then how about beyond that? I mean, should we expect any announcements, in quarter, 4 for Nanoleaf?
We do have quite a few products that are scheduled to come out around the end of this year. The exact time frame and what they are is still, I don't believe I'm allowed to say. I think my team will yell at me because oftentimes I'm a little too open with my communications. But we're really excited about it. A lot of it is in conjunction with the launch of Matter, and it's stuff that we've been working on for several years. So we're excited to bring it to market.
Awesome. So not only do we have what will be today's on July 14th announcement, but we'll have additional announcements throughout the end of the year.
That's correct.
That's awesome, and I can't wait. Thank you so much, Jimmy, for speaking with me. It's really been informational for me and exciting for me to hear, to hear all of this stuff regarding a company that I love so much and the products that I love so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show.
Of course. Thank you, Jimmy. Gimmy Chu, love him, love Nanoleaf, and happy Nanoversary to such a great company. And again, go to nanoleaf.me. They've got all kinds of great stuff, affordable prices, really high quality. I'm not kidding. I bought 18 different Nanoleaf essentials, which are their kind of, just standard bulbs. And when I bought my house, and now I bought more, and they're just awesome. I have their shapes, and you've seen some of my reviews and my pictures on social. I'm always showing them on social. So, all right. Next up is Zella Day. Zella released this incredible song, Radio Silence, and it is extremely powerful. And let's just get right into that. Here is my interview with Zella Day. All right. So I am here with Zella Day. Thank you so much for speaking with me on iHeartRadio.
Oh, yeah.
So, first of all, you have this incredible new single, Radio Silence, which we're going to talk about in a moment. But let's go back for a moment. How did you get into making music?
I got into making music when I was a child. I was a real little kid living in northern Arizona, in Pine Top, Arizona. My mom and my grandmother ran a coffee shop / paint your own pottery studio.
Oh, cool.
And in town, it was the only place for live music. So I loved singing, since I was big, and I picked up the guitar when I was 9 years old and was just sort of in the musical community in Pine Top, surrounded by people coming in and playing on stage and showing me chords. And I was curious about writing songs and started taking theory when I was 12. A lot of that I've lost recollection of, which is unfortunate. But I learned how to write a song, which is the most important part, or has been for me anyways. And I got started really young. And then that kind of just snowballed into other things. I was lucky to have a family that really supported me in all my endeavors, and just stuck with it.
And you have released now 2 albums, and we should be expecting a third one in the relatively near future, right?
Yeah. It depends on how you want to count the records. I released a record when I was young, like 13, but you can find, my mom actually has a collection of an archive, a Zella Day archive, as all moms, should do. I've got finger paintings in there and old CDs of mine and recordings. And I recorded a record when I was 13 called Powered by Love that on Discogs is going for like $100 right now,
That's pretty cool.
which is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I signed one of those recently. My mom was like, hey, you have a fan that keeps hitting me up and wants one of those Powered by Love CDs. Can you just sign it, please? And I was like, yeah, of course. I can't believe people want to listen to that. But so that was really the first one. And then the second one, but like the first official, record label release was Kicker. And then I had an EP with Dan Auerbach that was released in 2020, unfortunately. And and so the next one is coming in October.
And which brings us to Radio Silence, which is such an incredibly powerful song. And, unfortunately, the way fate has happened, or I guess we could argue that it's not fate, but it came out at, a very interesting time. Tell me about Radio Silence for you.
Well, Radio Silence was written in fall of last year, and so there's no, possible way that I could have anticipated what happened and where we are now. It was really just a song that was incredibly difficult to write, if I'm being honest, which in some ways is, one of the biggest problems, right? The kind of guilt that surrounds the issue that we're talking about, abortion, and how a lot of women that I know, including myself, have dealt with these types of situations. And so writing a song in this vein was really raw and vulnerable, but it was important. It was kind of one of those things where it felt like, for me personally, it was sort of this I don't even know what I want to call it, something that I've spoken to close friends about, and then you put it in a song, and I had a whole sort of moment with the song where I didn't know if I wanted to release it. I didn't know how comfortable I was actually putting that out into the world. And then kind of came the point where I was like, no, this is actually important. I think this means that it probably holds some weight to it if it's making me feel uncomfortable, right? That there's a really beautiful thing that music can do, and making you feel seen and heard, and like you belong, right? It's like a way to find community and connection. So I wanted to put the song out, and my friend Alex Kasnoff, who's an incredible writer and producer, I'm actually a real big fan of his band Harriet. They're not together anymore. Alex is working on his own solo stuff, but we're friends and have been for a long time. And this is the second writing session we did together when Radio Silence, was kind of came into the world. Wow. And I probably wouldn't have written the song if he hadn't helped shepherd it into existence. It was really good to have someone there being like, but what do you mean? Mm-hmm. But what do you actually want to say? And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to say any of it really. So Alex was really incredible in collaborating, and then I wasn't really sure when the song was going to come out, and I think it was it February when we all the news headlines came out about
that potentially happening, yeah,
Supreme Court, yeah, and so I kind of like press go on the song, with my label. It's really it's not as easy. For some people it is. I'm at that point right now where I have a record coming, and so to just kind of like insert song here, before the record is coming, isn't that convenient. It's actually really inconvenient for the team, and they're just like, oh, we have to worry about ingestion, and we gotta give it to the people streaming and all this stuff. And I was like, I get all that, but like, it's important that the song comes out now. Like, it's important that it exists now, and I don't think it's going to have quite the impact later. And I want to contribute to the allyship of what this song is speaking about. So, we we worked really hard to get it out as soon as possible, and then as soon as possible turned into the exact day that the decision was made, and it was weird, you know, sad and weird, and so not about me, you know, so not about me, and yeah, it makes me like sad to talk about it.
Yeah, and I want to give you kudos because just to be able to, first of all, tell anybody that story, your very personal story, takes so much bravery. And I wanted I wanted to use the kind of outdated word. It takes so much balls, but it takes
All right.
it takes
any of those things.
Exactly. It takes somebody with huge bravery in their heart to be able to tell anybody that story, but then to release that out into the world, that had to be so scary for you, for many reasons. And so I give you a million props for not only, kind of swallowing that fear, but saying, I think that it's important for other people to hear, because there are other people that have gone through this, and they may hear it and say, wow, she was brave enough to do that. I've never told anybody. I feel kinship or whatever. It's so, my hat is off to you for that. I mean, that's so incredibly powerful.
Yeah, that's what it's about, right? It's like I'm with my song, I'm not going to change the world, but I can maybe be a small part of a change, even in just the I don't know, the mindset, right?
Absolutely.
Of like young girls. Like I have a lot of young fans, so in a way, it's like knowing what what your demographic is and who you're speaking to is also really important. And as a woman and having been a young girl and all of that shit that's really confusing, it's like if my song can somehow bring a little bit of clarity and some support and make people feel like they're not alone, is great. Then my job is done and makes me feel really good.
Yeah, and it is, to me, true art is something that is able to reflect the world in some way and how people are feeling in it.
Man, it's hard to do that, right, without being totally corny.
Absolutely.
And I will say, like with this song, that was kind of the thing, is it wasn't meant to be a pro-choice anthem, and there's a lot of people have kind of like pinged it as that, and there's been a couple of headlines that have said, Zella's pro-choice anthem, and it sounds like I literally was like, pro-choice anthem,
right.
Like, okay, right. And this is not how it worked. It just was like way more human than that, so.
And organic.
Yeah. So it just kind of like aligned that it was reflecting the times as I was going through something more on a personal level, and it just kind of had this, symbiotic twist.
Yeah. And
great.
Yeah, I mean, I want to say it's fate, but I also don't want to, because I feel like that's not what fate ultimately will determine is what we are dealing with now. I feel like I pray or whatever, hope that that ultimately fate will prevail, and that this is just a temporary thing. But in the meantime, I also think that this song, I hear this all the time. I feel like what a lot of certain people do is it's almost like, quote, slut shaming, where they are blaming people that have to make this choice as if it's an easy choice to make, like, oh, well, just don't have sex, or, oh, stop using it as birth control or whatever, where I don't think there's anybody, realistically that is a thing. These are choices that people make, like deep in the heart of their soul, I presume. And I think that your song, Radio Silence, gives a voice to one of those stories. You know what I'm saying? Humanizes it, and telling a story authentically of how
Thank you.
It is.
Thanks. I mean, you're kind of, in a way, as a woman, you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't, which I feel like radio silence kind of positions well, where women are so sexually objectified, right? Uh, so in that space, you'd think that we would, if we are so objectified and the objectification is so real, yes, in America, but also everywhere, that there would be something there to protect us, right? That there would be some federal guideline for like, you know, you're gonna have the right, you know, like everyone wants to have sex with you.
Right.
And it's a huge part of our culture. So at least like give us a choice. I mean, damn,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, and radio silence, as you can tell, I mean, the verse is right. It talks about sort of, it's just this approach to a relationship that's really innocent and really typical to want to be um, involved and wanted, you know, involved and wanted and desired, and then really left with like the burden of, I guess, being the desirable. It's really a strange thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely incredibly powerful. And again, I can't thank you enough for telling that story. You know, I feel crazy times that we're living in, and voices like yours give me a ray of hope that that there will continue to be people that will tell their stories that I think will change hearts and minds.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope so too. And I really do think I have a lot of faith in these younger generations. You know,
Mm.
I see like a lot of the power and control by these older men. You know, that aren't going to be around forever.
Mm-hmm.
And there is such an uprising right now, especially in America, with the voices of the youth and people really showing up like physically and you know, for some of these women's rallies that were happening. I don't know how many years ago now, 6 years ago. Those were like some of my first rallies and marches I had ever been to in my life. Like that hasn't been happening for the duration of my life,
Right.
you know. So in a way, there's something really beautiful about people getting involved and people being angry about it. And I have a lot of faith for what that's going to do. And I think that, yeah, I think that we're smart as long as we can be smart and consistent and organized.
Mm-hmm.
Really
Organized.
is what it comes down to. And a big part of that organization, right, is the storytelling, is being a part of kind of a movement in whatever way you can be or feel comfortable to be. But at the same time, it's like, man, we really have to figure out how to lift each other out of this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we will. It's just going to take some time,
For sure.
unfortunately.
For sure. And
Yeah.
like you said, a huge part is organization and people telling their stories just like you in the way that
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so interesting because I'm living right now between California and Texas, so those two couldn't. It's polarizing.
Yeah.
And one thing that I do feel, you know, with California kind of issuing to be a sanctuary state, which is really great and beautiful, but then you also have sort of this crazy influx of people coming in from other states that need help, that need healthcare,
Mm-hmm.
really, and it just causes such disruption and chaos, which I'm sure is what these government officials that are making this choice want, you know. But it feels scary everywhere.
Yeah.
Like even if you're living in California right now, because I'm traveling right now internationally, and you know everyone's really curious about the state of affairs in America. Like I picked up like a magazine that I just was like, wow, this is how people are talking about America right now. And it just, the headline just said, darkness falls over America. And it's true.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's true. And people all over the world are mourning actually for us.
Yeah.
It's true. I've had lots of conversations that people are in complete disbelief that this is happening. And it's true. You know, it's like, it's almost like we need somebody to come in and save us, but we can't. We have to just deal with it ourselves and figure out how to save ourselves. And it really does go back to everything we're talking about, right? Organizing, talking, connecting. Thank God, and in part for social media. Like, I know a lot of people don't say that these days. It can be a heroine and also a villain and whatever is in between. But I do think it's so important that we have access right now, you know?
Absolutely.
Because we are living in a really different time where everything information is so accessible, and it's super important.
I totally agree. I was interviewing Gabrielle Union about a movie she did on Disney Plus, and there was some pushback from the anti-woke cult people, whatever woke is, and they were basically angry that the film was showing a blended family, black wife, white husband, blah, blah, blah. And she said it perfectly to me. She was like, these people and their beliefs are going to die off. Like, they're becoming less and less. And while
those boomers, man.
Exactly.
Those boomers.
Exactly. And
you're like,
yeah. And while
holding on really tight.
Yeah. And while they seem loud, they've always been, and it's blatantly obvious that it's because that they have, been for the last 30 years at least, a vocal minority rather than the majority of the country and certainly
but they always get out and vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the thing. And that's like that's the problem. But yeah, and it's also so sad to me, right? That like I wouldn't consider myself pacifist, but I'm not violent. Like, I don't believe in violence and war, but like this does feel like the war, because it is, essentially it's a war on women's bodies.
Absolutely.
And I hate that we have to even talk about, even just like refer to them dying before things change.
I know, isn't it horrible?
Well, what's it going to take? Like, what is it going to take? How many stories do we need to hear from medical professionals talking about the cases that they see and how widespread like abortion needs to be and how accessible it needs to be to people for all different reasons.
Yeah.
It's just people have such a narrow-minded perspective of things sometimes, or whatever they read, that they're like, oh, that's what it is. It's people who are using it for a form of birth control, and that's really bad.
Right.
And it's like, well, earth to anyone who has ever known someone to have an abortion or been close to it, nobody wants to have an abortion.
Exactly.
Nobody actually wants that. Your body goes through some really incredible hormonal changes, and it's getting ready for life. And when you reverse that through medical procedure, it's really painful. It's really physically painful. It's really psychologically, mentally exhausting and painful. And I know so many women who have had to undergo, different forms of abortion, who still later in their lives, it's still something that they think about. It's still something that like hurts them and haunts them. And, I always wonder, like what if, but they're happy that they did it because their life would have taken on a different course. But I just make the point just to say that it's not easy for anyone. It's actually, there's a heaviness to it. And so nobody's standing in line to take their 5th abortion because it's fun.
Exactly. Exactly.
Like,
yeah, it's absurd to even think that people think that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a different reality.
I have family members that think that, like, who are just so on the right and live in pockets of America where they're not exposed to, any kind of like urban life or cities or in places where there's more than 3,000 people. You know what I mean? It's
that all
just so
look
weird.
like me.
Like the news. Yeah, totally. And the news, just whatever media just really manipulates people's perspective, and it really kills empathy. Like totally destroys empathy. Media is like really crazy that way.
Yeah.
Dehumanizes everything.
Yeah, I totally, we are 1,000,000% on the same page, but I do hold out hope, and it's because of voices like yours. And you have a lyric video that is really beautiful. Is there any chance of a physical, or what do you call a non-lyric video? Traditional.
Yeah, just a proper, a traditional, a trad
Yeah.
music video. Yes. I shot one of those with my friend Alex Kazanoff, who also is the co-writer of Radio Silence that I was talking about earlier. Um, I was in LA for a couple of weeks, and we were going to have maybe another session, and we were just like, why are we going to write another song when Radio Silence is the most important thing, and we need to shoot a music video for it? Okay, we don't have the budget. Okay, well, what are we going to do? We're going to shoot it on iPhone. We're going to buy lenses at Best Buy. And Alex is so sweet. I was moving out of my room actually, because I've been making this whole life shift, and he really took on the responsibility that week of like going and buying costumes for the video. And like, I owe so much to him. He's amazing. And the night before I left, we did an 8-hour shoot, and we shot around the valley, and we went to the Santa Monica Pier at midnight. And it's kind of this like psychological thriller, and it's really fun. It's like quite energy packed, and I'm excited. I think it's coming out next week.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was hoping this week, but the record labels were on holiday, and I have feelings about that, but it's coming out next week.
Awesome. And then can we expect to see you on the road with the new album, or what?
Yeah, so I've got a couple of one-offs. Just festival dates. So in August, I think August 13th, I'm playing Victoria, Canada, and then on the 27th, Seattle. And then we're kind of like later into the year, and I have a record coming out in October. And so tours will really be slated for next year.
Awesome.
But I'll have a couple of things popping up, and you never know. I love playing, so anything special that kind of happens to come my way. I'm hoping to have like an intimate show in LA and one in New York, and then wanting to come back here too. I mean, I'm in London right now, and I love it here, and I've always loved touring in Europe, and it's been a while, so all that definitely is coming up.
Awesome. Well, Zella, thank you so much for speaking with me. Thank you so much for being brave enough to tell your story and release this this incredible song out into the world. And I can't wait to see what's next for you.
Thanks, Kyle. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Thank you. Me as well. Zella Day, what an incredibly brave person, brave artist. She's just, kudos to her for, speaking her truth, and especially at a scary time in the world with what she's talking about. You can check her out at zelladay.com. All right, next up, the legendary, the one and only Yolanda Adams. Yolanda, she's so incredible. I interviewed her a few years back. You can check out that episode. We'll have it in the show notes. She's just so awesome. So we sat down in Washington, D.C. For the Capitol 4th on PBS, which you still have a few days left to watch it on demand. She's just so awesome. She was named the #1 gospel artist from Billboard magazine. President Obama awarded her the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award for her volunteer service. She was inducted into the Gospel Music Hall of Fame. She is the first gospel artist nominated for a Tony Award for her work on freaking SpongeBob. Okay, that's how awesome she is. She's received Soul Train Music Awards, performed the national anthem performed America the Beautiful at the Super Bowl. She has had 5 #1 albums on Billboard's top gospel albums chart. I mean, and it goes on. 4 Grammys, 4 Dove Awards, 5 BET Awards, 6 NAACP Image Awards, 6 Soul Train Music Awards, 2 BMI Awards. She's just so incredible. And guess what? I got some news on her new album that she may have dropped something about her long awaited album. Her last album was released in 2011. That was called Becoming. Oh, and by the way, she is on the White Hot Kingdom business on BET Plus, and People are talking about that because it is a juicy show, and she's so awesome in it. She plays Danita Jordan. And Kingdom Business is kind of a behind-the-scenes look at the gospel industry, the music industry, gospel music industry, and all the drama that unfolds behind gospel queen Danita, who's getting a challenge from Soraya, a up-and-coming artist. So really, really good show. She talks all about that. All right, let's get into my conversation with the incredible, the one and only, the legendary Yolanda Adams. All right, I am here with the legendary Miss Yolanda Adams. There needs no introduction. How are you? Thank you for speaking with me again.
Oh, thank you. It's good to see you.
It's good to see you as well. So we are here once again to talk about Capitol 4th, PBS. We're in D.C., Washington, D.C., on July 4th. What is that like for you to come? You know, you've done it numerous times, performed. You're performing I think in my piece that I wrote earlier, I think I put revival style.
Battle Hymn of Republic.
Yeah. Such a cool song. What is that like for you to do that here on 4th of July?
Well, first of all, I have to shout out all of my family at Capitol Concerts because we've been together for almost 30 years now. And so I don't want to brag, but I kind of think that I'm like the most requested artist.
Yeah.
You heard that, right? But I've done it so many times,
yeah.
And so they're family. And to be able to share this 4th of July, this actual 4th of July with my daughter who just graduated from Howard University.
Oh, congratulations.
I'm so proud of her. And this is her last week, her last week here in DC because she's moving to LA.
Okay.
I mean, it means the world to me to be able to have all these milestones happen at one time.
Yeah, and is she going to be coming tonight to see you?
Is.
And is that her first time seeing you here?
No.
Okay, so she's come before.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right, so this is all kinds of specialness going on today
Yeah.
with this. So the song that you're performing, I was actually talking with Kev Mo while you were performing, and we both just realized that we had kind of stopped the interview because we were like watching you, and then Harry, the guy who was recording us, was like, "Are you ready, Kyle?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just waiting for Kev," and he was like, "I'm just waiting for Yolanda."
He's such a nice guy. He's been in the business a while. He's a legend, 5-time, 6-time Grammy Award winner. I don't know how many because he's been on everybody's records, and his records are amazing. And we saw each other and was like, the last time we saw each other was before the pandemic. How you doing? He's just so great. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and he's full of energy. He's just incredible. But but to me, it's a testament to you and your voice and your talent and your presence when you have another legend, a legend in the blues world that is stopping and watching a legend in the gospel world. So that's so awesome.
But then it also lets you know that music transcends genres and ethnicities and all kinds of stuff. So I'm just glad to be able to go all over the world singing and just spreading joy.
I love that. And on the topic, speaking of singing, it's been a while since you put an album out.
Yeah.
And you've done some songs here and there, and we'll talk about your current project in a second, but when can we expect a new album?
You can definitely expect a new single. My single from Yolanda Adams, Jimmy Jam, and Terry Lewis, the 4th quarter, right before the Christmas music comes out.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And so that's a little tease for...
It's a little tease. And I heard a little birdie say that there may be a country western singer helping us with one of the songs, but I'm not going to tell you everything the little birdie said, though.
All right. I'm excited for that. And what you're currently working on now is a super popular series on BET Plus. Is that like cool for you to be able to? I mean, you design. You're a designer. You're a singer, a performer, an actress. Like, is it cool for you to be able to go in between these? Like, this project I want to do this. This project I want to do that.
Well, here's the thing. I was called by Dr. Holly Carter, who is one of the executive producers of Kingdom Business. That's the actual series. And she said, I think there's this role that you are perfect for, but you got to audition, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, no problem. I read the script. I'm like, you can't give this to anybody else. I want this. Because Danita, we have some similar kind of things, but she's a total opposite personality-wise than myself. I'm non-confrontational. She runs to the confrontation. I'm a joyful, I see the glass half full, kind of person, and she's like, that glass is not, look, it's dirty, and so that's who she is. And I found it so intriguing to go out of my norm to become someone who definitely is not me, but could shape the way that I am presented in other projects as well. Because, I always usually play myself.
What's happening?
Doorbell.
Oh.
It's like,
I'm like, what's going on?
3:30? Are you guys 3:30?
3:30, 3:32. That's funny. Oh.
Another one?
That's so funny.
Well, all right then. Continue.
The
The power of editing.
Yeah, so I'll go back. So I usually like to, go outside of what I am, so I don't want the next project to resemble me, the kind Yolanda who's doing this or that, or play myself in that role. I want the meaty stuff because the meaty stuff makes you really, really dive into all of the emotions that it takes to take on that person. And I am enjoying doing that. I am enjoying Miss Danita. 10 more seasons, please.
And Soraya, she's amazing.
Oh my gosh, when
her.
I tell you she is a darling. She is a sweetheart. She's a triple threat. She dances, she sings, she acts, she writes. She can choreograph anything. She's just amazing. Michael Beach, my husband in the series. He's mean to me in the series, but I love him dearly. We have mutual friends in the business that we've known like forever and ever. And Michael J. White, man, he is great. And I'm like, you're like my little brother. I don't want to fuss at you. And then when they say action, I'm like, so you turn it on and off. And my kids in the series, Chandre, he's amazing. He's been on tour with Hamilton. And Keandra Richardson, my daughter, I'm kind of mean to her in the series, but I just love her. She's such a doll. We had, and everyone says the same thing when we had the Q&A with the entire cast. Everyone said that it was a joy to come to work every morning.
That's awesome.
So,
and there's, that's awesome when you can say that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And mean it.
Right. Yeah, and I ask this to every person that has reached a certain level, and you have not just reached that certain level, but broke through.
Oh, thank you.
What does success mean to Yolanda Adams?
Wow. Success to me means doing what I love, not having to do it, but wanting to do it. I don't have to go to work tomorrow, but I want to go to work tomorrow. I've been so blessed that I can sit home and get royalties for the rest of my life, but I don't believe that there's a retirement age in what I do. I believe as long as I'm breathing, I can do this. And I am so glad that I get a chance to do this every day. There's not a day that I wake up and I'm like, I don't want to get up. No, I am grateful to get up because I know that probably 500,000 people didn't get up this morning. And to be able to breathe well and move my arms and emote and express. I think it's the best thing.
I love that.
Yeah.
Miss Yolanda Adams, thank you so much for joining me on iHeartRadio, Pop Culture Weekly. You are a legend and an icon, and
you.
I can't wait for your new project, which we've been teased, so.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
There she is, Yolanda Adams. You know, we stand a queen, and she is a queen. I love her so much. She just radiates positivity, and she's just such an amazing soul. So, all right, that is the show for this week. Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Weekly. Make sure you review us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. It really, really does help grow the show, and you are helping to grow the show every single week. And don't forget, I have a limited series, Death, Grief, and Other Shit We Don't Discuss. Very, very personal to me, coming out very soon, August 30th. And it's very different from this show. It's about my mom who passed away from pancreatic cancer last year. And I went across the country talking to the world's, the foremost experts on death and grief and loss and purpose and all of it. The afterlife and spiritualism and all kinds of good stuff. And you can get info on the website, deathandgrief.show. All right. I love you all. Thank you. See you next week. We out.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Weekly. Hear all the latest at popcultureweekly.com.
This battle is not yours, it's the Lord's.